Sleeper, still untouched by gravity, invisible for the stone, I cannot hear you shift in its dark center. How many centuries since the first girl, pressing hand against stone, hardly meaning to make an inside, roused you. The stone had no emptiness, and her body no emptiness, until she felt you move under her palm, her steady pulse. Already flesh was something to rouse you, something to make you true. Stone dove, untouched by thistles, moths, listen now, my hand is open. My name is Mary Szybist. I grew up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and I lived in Iowa City for 9 years. I attended the workshop here, and I now live in Portland, Oregon, and I am back to read from my second book of poems, Incarnadine. The most common question I've received lately is the origin of the second book, how it got started. And the book centers around the Annunciation scene more than anything else. And that started really a long time ago. I grew up with the name of Mary attending the Church of the Annunciation, so it was an icon I spent a lot of time literally looking at and contemplating growing up. And I sort of returned to it in this book, thinking about ways both to get out from under its shadow and to find new uses for it. Using it in the sense of Blake's idea that he says, expect poison from standing waters, and trying to use this image that I thought of as rather still and fixed and bring it to new things, to unsettle them in new ways, to re-see things through that lens. Yeah, I'm not attached to a particular place for writing, but I do prefer long, quiet spaces for writing where I can really think and rethink and hear myself and rehear myself. So I'm not so good at stealing moments between things. I really like long, quiet spaces. You know, when I lived in Iowa City from after the workshop, I taught at West High School for 6 years here in town. And sometimes I wrote in the classroom there, often sort of after school or between things. And it was a strange environment in which to do so, full of disruptions, but I did do some writing there. The poem that I think most haunted this collection is Leda and the Swan by Yeats, because I thought about it a lot as a different kind of Annunciation scene, and Yeats's really strange idea that every 2,000 years there's this divine human encounter that results in a new birth that changes the world. And Yeats was obsessed with this idea that what now slouches toward Bethlehem to be born. But I thought it was still a question worth asking, not in the literal sense, but in the sense of what encounters are happening in the world now, and what are they or are they not engendering. I like walking, and I like being out in the yard, working with the flowers and the bushes and the grasses, and just being completely absorbed in the world in that way. As my friend Molly Lou says, something to refresh the eye. I realized in my first book, after the fact I had a lot of mouths The mouth imagery was something that I became aware of tending toward. Yeah, I took a trip to Laos and Cambodia in the spring, and it was a very full and wonderful trip. But how to write poems that emerged from some of my thinking there is a real challenge and question for me. I do. I think simply routinely showing up and being open to what you don't already know is a kind of spiritual practice.